Pope John Paul II was one of the most revered figures in America, yet he was Polish. Those are the times, and those times are gone. In 2015, 66% of Americans said religion was an important part of their life. Today, a Gallup poll shows that number below 50%, a 17% drop over a decade. The exodus comes at a strange time, really. For the first time ever, an American pope presides in Rome. He often weighs in on domestic issues in America, but Pope Leo is not even making headlines. He is not that relevant beyond the Catholic faith, which is crazy for the Pope. He has little to no sway on policy in this country, his country, a country where the number of Catholics and other faithful is shrinking, along with every other religious group. With us now, Monsignor Jim Lisante, pastor of Our Lady of the Lourdes, one of the largest parishes on Long Island, host of the podcast Personally Speaking, which I was so fortunate to join earlier this week, Monsignor, about Born Lucky. Thank you for having me, and now welcome you to the show. How do we explain a 17-point drop in 10 years?
Leland, you know, a lot of people don't make the distinction, but we should, between belief and practice. I don't think there are any fewer people in America who don't believe in God. They're just not crazy about organized religion. And in many ways, we probably have given them reasons to go in that direction. But I think belief in God is still very strong. Years ago, I granted it was like 90%. It might be less than that now. But in terms of particular membership, yeah, that's down in every religion, including ours. But we see signs of hope. There are things we have to confront that I think can bring those numbers back up. I'm thinking of a couple of things. One of them would be certainly in our church and in all churches, the difficulty of scandals. When I talk to young adults on why they're not going to church, they'll say often they're disgusted by what happened, and they should be. I like to remind them that 96% of priests have never touched a kid, wouldn't hurt a kid for their lives. 4% did bad things, and that's not just limited to the Catholic Church. There's also the gospel of money. You know that, Leland, that I guess the one people pick on the most would be well, I won't name names, but, you know, there are guys who say that if you just follow our faith, you're going to get all these blessings from God. You're going to end up rich, the gospel of wealth. And that's a turnoff to people. They look at Jesus, the carpenter, and they say, wait a second. You're telling me I'm following Jesus, who's a humble man who owned nothing. But if I follow Jesus, I'm going to have $1 million in the bank. And, of course, the last thing is you know, too, and you probably talked about it on other newscasts, the politicization of religion. You know, more than ever now, religion and politics are heavily wed. And while at the same time I can see that a lot of laws that reflect moral teachings are made by politicians, when our church or any church becomes too related to one particular party or another, it's never a good thing for people. They see it as just another political operation and they turn off. So there's lots of things we can fix to make things better, but belief is still real.
Yeah, separating those two is an important thing. I was going to say, when you were talking about the Jesus the carpenter versus the pastor, the gospel of money, I was going to say it's hard to hear a guy tell you to be humble when he flies on his Gulfstream.
Exactly.
But there seemed to be this moment, right? And I was there at Charlie Kirk's funeral. It had the feeling, I've never been to a revival, but it kind of felt like one if you've ever been there. There was that moment that Charlie Kirk's widow says, I forgive him, meaning forgive the shooter. There was an audible gasp. You don't get that in politics. You only get that kind of emotional feeling in religion. So there does seem to be, to your point, this youth that is moving back to religion.
Yeah.
How do you further that and help guide it?
You know, I'm old enough, Leland, to remember and to be around. I had 30 people in my parish die on 9/11. And I remember from that moment on, our churches were packed every week. And in the same way, the Charlie Kirk effect was the same. I mean, in recent times in my parish, we're not just full up in the pews. There are people standing on the sides. And I think whenever tragedy like that happens, it makes us wonder, what is the purpose of God? What's the purpose of our nation? What can we do to bring it back together? And there's so much division. And sometimes coming back to church is a way of bringing the family back into a spirit of unity. So I'm just sad that we have to go through 9/11s and the killing of people like Charlie Kirk to wake us up to the reality that faith is a good thing, doesn't hurt anybody. You know, I've been a priest 44 years, Leland, and I have yet to say to a married couple, you know, practice your faith, and they do it, and they're worse off for it. Just the opposite. The more God is part of a marriage or a family, the stronger a family life becomes.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.